morning, everybody. Welcome. So first and foremost, I want to apologize for yesterday. I was sleeping. I basically woke up way too early that day, and I slept, or I woke up too early, and then I stayed up, and then I thought I would take a nap before the live, like an hour nap, and I slept right through it. So completely and totally my fault. I rescheduled it to be on the 9th, so I believe I have that day off. The problem is that, and it's just how it is. I work, and my hours are really different on the weekends. Some days they're 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. This weekend they were 2 or 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. It's hard when you go from nighttime shifts to daytime shifts and then having to try to catch up on sleep on everything. But I do apologize. Hey Maggie, hey Carol, welcome. And then I wanted to show you guys we have new merchandise available in the merch store. I tried to get it done earlier in the day yesterday, but it wasn't cooperating with me so much, but it finally came through. So here's the merchandise. Here's the merch store. Um, we've got, this is the new shirt that I created recently. I'm really proud of this design. I worked hard getting this going. For you guys, it says, "I am Brendan Dassey's Freedom Warrior." And then on the back, it says, "It's time to free Brendan Dassey." Really happy with how it turned out. I worked hard on this design to get the words to curve like that. Believe it or not. I worked really hard on this one. And I'm proud of it. And then also how it's, because like this is a complete picture. So this is actually a picture that I made in a different program and uploaded to the website. I'm happy of how it turned out. Anyway, so I'm really looking forward to seeing people wear it. You know, there's a simple sticker here. Here's a journal. I made a woman's cut because somebody said that they would like a woman's cut. And then I made this yesterday for Wrongful Conviction Day. So I need to change it to where it shows this picture first. But this is the picture that I used for wrongful. There were 3 pictures I used for Wrongful Conviction Day, and this one I think was better on a t-shirt. So I went with this one. And but it says every day is Wrongful Conviction Day when you're wrongfully convicted. And then on the back it says it's time to free Brendan Dassey. Same message as before. So that's the new shirts, and then you got stickers, and then I got some coffee cups. I got a bag here. I still have the I Stand with Brendan Dassey t-shirts available. I did remove 2 t-shirt designs. Awesome, Maggie. That's awesome. Yeah, I ordered the puzzle here. Up here, I bought this puzzle. I'm really excited about the puzzle. And so the puzzle has different designs from over the years that I used. Like this was on a t-shirt. This was on a t-shirt. This one is Linda. I thought that was cool. I was actually might make this her into a t-shirt soon. So stay tuned for that one. But yeah, and then just some other things. This is something that Brendan colored in once with a little message right here. But anyway, so if you guys want a puzzle, I ordered one. I'm excited to get it. This was us in front of Governor Evers' office 2 years ago. But yeah. Yeah, the Linda We Can Do It t-shirt. I'm gonna make that into a t-shirt. I haven't told Linda yet. Um, I haven't told Linda yet, but I am gonna make it into a t-shirt, and I just want to make sure. Okay, so I'm gonna have to talk to Linda and um, what's her face, Alice, about the Sunday the 9th. We may not be able to do it in the morning because I work from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. So you see how it works? The schedule's just like all over the place. Tomfoolery, I tell you, and I don't like it, but it is what it is. So anyway, but yeah, this is the puzzle that I made. But yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff. The prices, I just want to put this out there. The prices are all over the place. And I apologize for that. The reason is because they keep changing the base cost on things. So it's more expensive now for them to make a t-shirt or whatever they're offering. And I try to keep the prices fair to you guys because I know we're all not made of money, right? We're not rich. We're doing the best we can, you know. Like I could only buy one or two things at, a month myself. So, um I'm trying to do my best to keep the cost down for us so we can be able to enjoy these things plus give Brendan some sort of profit from it. You might see a profit increase by December or a price increase again by December. And I mean that as is I'm kicking around the idea of increasing the price back up to what the website suggests it should be because I want Brendan to be able to get, a nice little profit from it. Not a lot, but um I just want to give an example. One of the items in here, and I won't say which one, he only gets like $2 back in profit. You know what I'm saying? And to me, it's not worth selling that item if it's not a decent. To me, a decent is like $4 or $5, right? So I'm just letting you guys know. There might be a price increase on our end for these items, but I'm trying my best to keep it low for us so we can enjoy it. And I know Brendan enjoys um, the merch store. He actually made a joke with me about selling something in here, and I was gonna make it and then send him the picture, but I wasn't gonna offer it unless people really want to buy it. But I'm laughing because of what it is. I won't say it yet, but I want to, I he really enjoys the merch store. He really enjoys the fact that people are enjoying the merchandise. He likes to know that we're all wearing t-shirts and stuff with his name, and he also enjoys having the profits from it because he's been saving those the profits. He's been saving it because he really believes he's going to be free by next year, and I believe it too. So that's kind of why um, I'm doing this, and as soon as he gets out, I'm just gonna hand it all over to him, and it's gonna be 100% his. So either way, I mean, that's how I feel about everything I do. This YouTube channel is gonna be 100% his. Um, the Facebook group I'm running, that's his in my mind, and the merch store, you know, it's all his. So yeah. But I just wanted to let you guys know that that might be happening, and I might do a poll, maybe because I want you guys to be able to enjoy and buy. I don't want to just be like, well, here's a price increase, but then nobody can afford it. You know what I mean? So we'll see. I'm just giving you guys a heads up though, because this is like the second time in like under 6 months that the website had, and it's not getting better. It's not the website being greedy. It's just the way the economy is. Unfortunately, we're just where everything's just getting more expensive. So I can't really go to another place because it's just going to be just as bad there. but anyway. So check out the merch store. Buy something if you'd like. And yeah. So I've been reading from Anatomy of a False Confession, The Interrogation and Conviction of Brendan Dassey by Michael Cincinnati. And we left off on chapter 12. And I'm on page 59. And I believe I'm probably going to read through 3 chapters again, 3 or 4 chapters. They're short. Let's see. This is 13, 14, 15. So I might read through 4 chapters. Maybe we'll go to chapter 15. Because like I said, these aren't really long chapters. They're very short chapters. So it's about 20 pages. That's not bad, right? So anyway, all right. I got my coffee. I got my book. I got my bookmark. All right, let's go. Chapter 12, Promises, Promises on page 59. If the interrogator has used the maximization technique properly, the suspect will not only be terrified, but also feel a sense of helplessness. The suspect will believe he is about to be charged with serious crimes, that the government has an airtight case. Neither of these things is true, of course. If the police had an airtight case, they wouldn't be wasting their time talking to the suspect in the interrogation room, but the suspect believes he is doomed. That's interesting, actually. If they didn't believe they had an airtight case, then they wouldn't be talking to you. Huh. I never really thought of it like that. At this point, the interrogator puts on a new hat, that of savior. It's time to rescue the suspect from the fake problem the interrogator himself created. It's time to offer a ray of hope, a lifeline, a way out. How? By promising the suspect that cooperating will result in leniency and may even get him out of trouble completely. But there's one minor roadblock. Strictly speaking, promises are not allowed inside the interrogation room. In order for the prosecutor to later use the confession at trial, the suspect's decision to confess must have been free and voluntary choice. If, however, the suspect relied on interrogators' false promises, then deciding to confess, those false promises would have made it impossible for the suspect to weigh the pros and cons of the confession. And without being able to weigh the pros and cons, the decision to confess would not have been voluntary. Instead, the confession would be considered involuntary, coerced, and the prosecutor would not be able to use it at trial to convince the suspect turned defendant. Fortunately for the police, however, only strictly speaking are promises not allowed. In reality, there are 2 ways the police are trained to get around this rather soft prohibition. The first way is very similar to the police tactics for getting suspects to waive their Miranda rights. Chapter 9 explained how the police first tell suspects, as required by Miranda, that anything you say can be used against you. But as soon as they utter those words, they immediately negate the message by repeatedly tell the suspect that exact opposite, that making a statement won't hurt you, and in fact, talking to them will actually help you. So how does this sleight of hand work in the context of interrogation promises? It's simple. The interrogators first tell the suspect they can't make him any promises, then they start making promises. For example, before beginning one interrogation, Rieger told Dassey, "We can't make any promises, but we will stand behind you no matter what you did." Even assuming the promise to stand behind you no matter what you did is somehow not a promise. It wasn't long before Wiegert and Fassbender unleashed a torrent of unequivocal promises. That's a big word I've never seen before. Unequivocal, equivocal, Unequivocal. Huh. Powerful enough to induce Dassey to confess. The second way that interrogators get past the no promise guideline is to rely on this Wisconsin Court of Appeals doublespeak. An officer telling a defendant that his cooperation would be his benefit is not coercive conduct, at least so long as leniency is not promised. This makes no sense, of course, as the only benefit a suspect could possibly be thinking about while sitting in an interrogation room and being accused of a crime is leniency. Nonetheless, this nonsensical distraction provides interrogators with a new way to legally make false promises to induce the suspect to confess. And Wiegert and Fassbender took full advantage of this role when extracting a confession from their target. Dassey's interrogators started things off by reinforcing that sense of helplessness. They made clear that Dassey was in deep water and they were the only ones who could help him. As we saw in the earlier Miranda-related chapters, they told Dassey that people back at the sheriff's department and the district attorney's office wanted to file charges against him for Halbach's murder. But they, Wiegert and Fassbender, were holding them at bay. Fassbender was as clear as he was untruthful. Mark and I are both going well. He's a kid. He had nothing to do with this. They also made Dassey believe that his own family members had turned against him. Stephen doesn't care about you right now. He cares about himself. Unfortunately, that's all Stephen cares about. He left you to hang out to dry. You're only one that we talked to between the other brothers, Blaine, Bobby, Brian, that is inconsistent with what they said. And now Dassey was primed for their promises. Wiegert and Fassbender wanted to show Dassey what they could do for him. We want to go back and tell people that, Brendan was honest. He's not like Steve, and he's honest. He's a good guy. So they repeatedly used the oh my God, analog to hammer away at their point. Mark and I both can go back to the district attorney and say, Dassey came forward and finally told us, we'll go to bat for you. But you have to be honest with us. More specifically, honesty is whatever pleases the interrogators. I'm your friend right now, but I gotta believe in you. And if I don't believe in you, I can't go to bat for you. Fearing that Dassey might not grasp the baseball metaphor, Wiegert and Fassbender use a variation on a biblical theme that Dassey would be able to take literally, but the trial judge and appellate court could later dismiss as a mere figure of speech rather than a promise. They told him honesty is the only thing that will set you free. Not only was this a promise, but as Dassey's post-conviction lawyers pointed out, it was a false one. Plainly, the officers overcame Brendan's reluctance only by assuring him that everything will be all right as long as he confessed. But in reality, the opposite was true. Because no witness or physical evidence linked to Brendan to Halbach's rape or murder, Brendan was safe from legal jeopardy unless he confessed. And just in case both of these baseball analogy and biblical references were lost on the learned disabled child, the interrogators got very specific with their promises of leniency, the exact thing that the law in theory prohibits. As Dassey's post-conviction counsel argued, it is unreliable to assert that Brendan's interrogators made no false promises of leniency. The videotape reflects many such promises, including that even if Brendan made statements against your own interests, then from what I'm seeing, I'm thinking you're all right. Okay, you don't have to worry about things. Honesty here is the only thing that's going to help you. By talking with us, it's helping you. No matter what you did, we can work through that. The honest person is the one who's going to get a better deal out of everything. And if in fact you did some things, which we believe it's okay, as long as you can be honest with us, it's okay. If you lie about it, it's going to be problems. Let's get it all out today and this will be all over with. See, they're basically, I just want to point out, they did that a lot during his interrogation. They said, if you did some things which we believe is okay, as long as you can be honest with us, it's okay. So they're basically setting him up and saying that it's okay if you raped her. It's okay if you killed her. It's okay if you did these awful things to her, as long as you're honest with us. It's like, obviously, it's not okay, right? Like, it's never okay to do those things. But they're basically setting him up to feel comfortable to admitting to certain things. So then that way he could, like, oh, well, it's okay if I say these things that they want me to say, you know? Because a lot of people say, like, why would somebody confess? Even Brendan, why would somebody confess to raping somebody? Like, surely raping somebody is wrong. Well, they spent like a good whole half of an interview or interrogation telling him it's okay to admit to that. It's okay. We're not going to be upset. It's okay. It's okay to say that you did these things. It's all right. We just want to help you. So if you say that you did these things, you're helping us and we'll help you. And you won't get in trouble. It's okay. We'll go to bat for you. We got your back. Don't worry. Just say that you did it. So then he finally gave the confession that they wanted, and then they arrested him. In short, it is fictional to believe that such messages of leniency did not affect Brendan's decision to talk, rather than to remain silent. Worse yet, the above messages are only a few hand-picked examples from multiple hours of interrogations. Readers may have noticed that the above passage and a few other passages in this book so far are unavoidably repetitive, and this gives some insight into how Dassey must have felt, as promises of leniency were repeated 20 times on February 27th. And similar promises of leniency were made 21 times during the March 1st interrogation. Wiegert and Fassbender's message to Dassey was coming through forcefully and frequently. He would receive the leniency and even escape punishment entirely if he just confessed. So Dassey took their deal, and there was no doubt that he did so in order to receive the leniency he was promised, including that if he got it all out today, then this would be all over with. After Dassey gave his interrogators what they had asked for, he expected them to make good on their end of the bargain and take him back to school. He asked Wiegert, "Do you think I can get there before 1:29? I have a project due in 6 hours." Oops, Brendan. Brendan wasn't going anywhere, or at least not back to school. As explained in Chapter 1, he had just confessed to murder along with rape, corpse mutilation for good measure. But wait, you may be thinking that the interrogators didn't make promises to get Dassey to confess, rather they technically made promises to get the truth, regardless of what the truth was. And if the truth was that Dassey didn't know anything, then he should have said that. Actually, Dassey did say that, but Wiegert and Fassbender weren't going to let his claims of innocence get in the way of a confession. Besides, what is the truth anyway? As the next chapter explains, it's whatever Wiegert and Fassbender say it is. Okay. Chapter 13, Wordplay. Page 63. What does the word truth mean? What does any word mean, really? In police and prosecutor speak, the definition of words are not fixed, rather they are flexible. This way, words can take on whatever meaning that best suits the government at any given point in time. My favorite example of this wordplay comes from the case State versus Locke, where a Wisconsin prosecutor cut a plea deal with a defendant. The defendant agreed to plead guilty to 2 crimes, and the prosecutor agreed to refrain from making a specific recommendation as to the length of the sentence the court should impose. the prosecutor would still be allowed to say all the bad things he wanted about the defendant at the sentencing hearing. The prosecutor was merely obligated not to recommend a specific number of years in prison. So what did the prosecutor do? After getting the defendant to plead guilty, he violated his end of the bargain by specifically recommending the maximum sentence of 50 years. According to the prosecutor, however, this wasn't a specific recommendation. Actually, the prosecutor argued, it wasn't a recommendation at all. We all know that the word recommendation means, but the prosecutor simply changed its meaning to suit the government's needs. When he told the judge he should dole out 50-year sentence, that was not a recommendation. It was a non-recommendation. More specifically, the prosecutor had the gall to say in open court, so the recommendation here is a non-recommendation as far as that I can say that Mr. Locke, Mr. Locke, up for 50. Sorry, the words here are like mumbled. So, as what I can say to lock Mr. Locke up for 50 years, which is 30 years of initial confinement and 50 years of extended supervision. To begin, the prosecutor was so excited by his play on words, lock and Locke, that he had lost the ability to perform basic arithmetic. The appellate court observed that to arrive at 50-year sentence, that includes 30 years of initial confinement. The most reasonable interpretation of the prosecutor's statement is that it was a recommendation for only a 20-year term of extended supervision. But second, and more important, the prosecutor renegated on his agreement not to make a specific sentence recommendation and then tried to hoodwink the court by changing the meaning of the word recommendation. And to give the prosecutor full credit for his creativity, he also coined some new legal terminology in the process, the non-recommendation recommendation. But this kind of wordplay is not unique to prosecutors. It is favorite ploy of the police too. In fact, Wiegert and Fassbender used this tactic to great effect when, during their multiple interrogations of Dassey, they redefined the words truth and honesty. Dr. Lawrence T. White, the false confession expert featured in Making a Murder, put it this way. The two detectives developed this theme of honesty, and they repeatedly dozens of times in that March 1st, 2006 interrogation, they say to Brendan, now be honest, you know how important it is to be honest. But when you watch the videotape, it's clear that when they say to Brendan to be honest, their sort of meaning is don't tell us that, tell us something else, something that fits their theory of that crime. But given that most people, including Dassey, know what the words truth and honesty mean, it takes a lot of work for Wiegert and Fassbender to change the meaning of those words in Dassey's mind. To begin, they use the words in great sense, getting Dassey buy-in that truth and honesty are good things. For example, the one point they tell Dassey, well, go to bat for you, but you have to be honest with us. I promise I will not let you hang out there, but you've got to have the truth. As another example, they warned him, as long as you can, as long as you be honest with us, it's okay. If you lie about it, it's going to be a problem, okay? Does that sound familiar? Or does that sound fair? Next, it's time to change the meanings of the two words. Whether Dassey gives an answer the interrogators don't like, they simply let him know that he is not being honest and that his answer is not the truth. After Dassey has been held captive for many hours, over 2 days, and hears their rebunks dozens of times, the words eventually lose their real meaning and instead become synonymous with whatever makes his interrogators happy. For example, when Wiegert and Fassbender asked Dassey that he saw in Avery's bonfire the night of Hallback's disappearance, he said some garbage bags on there. Obviously, the interrogators wanted Dassey to have seen Hallback's remains. They rejected the answer, you have to tell the truth. Eventually, after lengthy prodding to be honest, Dassey came around to his interrogator's version of the truth, now claiming to have seen Halbach's clothes and even her remains in the fire. Another example, when the interrogators were working on their timeline, they asked Dassey if the fire was already started when he got to Avery's home on Halloween. He replied no, it wasn't. This, however, did not fit the version of events that interrogators had constructed. Fassbender stated, "We're not going to go any further in this because we need to get the truth out now. We know the fire was going. Let's talk it through honestly now." Wiegert added, "Come on, Brendan, be honest. I told you before that's the only thing that's going to help you here. We already know what happened." I have full belief that there was no fire on October 31st. I really do not believe there was one. I believe Brendan's original, um, when he was in the back of the police car and he said that it was like on November or something. Or was it a few days before or a few days after October 31st? But I don't think it was on October 31st. I think that that's the state's narrative. That's how I personally feel about it. But because there were a few people who said that there wasn't a fire on October 31st. So if you go back to Brendan's very first interrogation in the back of the police car, he gives the date. And I think that's the date that the bonfire really was. I just don't remember it offhand. Anyway. Wiegert and Fassbender also wanted to rope Dassey into Halbach's actual murder. Rather than just the burning of her corpse, they needed to place Dassey inside Avery's trailer. Fassbender urged, "Okay, to this point now, I think we're pretty close to the truth." But when Dassey said he didn't go inside the trailer, Wiegert responded, "Come on now, be honest, you went inside, didn't you?" This was a recurring theme throughout all of Dassey's interrogations as far back as November 6, 2005, when the two marionette detectives got Dassey in the back of the squad car. Government agents have been putting up the same tired facade that they were there to help Dassey and that they only wanted the truth, unless, of course, the truth didn't match their version of events. For example, when Dassey told the marionette detectives that he got off the school bus and saw Halbach leaving Avery's property in her vehicle, the detectives rejected that account because it didn't fit with their theory that Avery had her, or her corpse, somewhere on his property. Their exchange with Dassey then went as followed. Detective Baldwin: "Brendan, I know you're scared. Okay, I understand that, all right? I want to try to help you, okay?" Dassey: "Yeah, what, take Stephen away from me?" Baldwin: "No." Dassey: "Like 18 years again?" Baldwin: "Bottom line is, we don't want that to happen. And nobody's saying that Stephen did this, okay? Nobody's saying that. But to get beyond Stephen, we have to know the truth, okay? So why don't you tell me what happened to her? I know you're still not telling me the truth, because I know you look all choked up to me. You look like you want to tell me something else, like the truth." Ironically, all of Dassey's interrogators, O'Neill, Baldwin, Wiegert, and Fassbender, repeatedly claimed to want honesty and truth, yet many of their own claims were flat-out lies. They repeatedly lied about their motives, what they knew, what other people had said, whom they were targeting, and whom they were trying to help. And the unsettling part is that they all seem to lie so effortlessly. The audio and video revealed no apparent inner struggle in a moral sense, and certainly no practical difficulties when formulating their falsehoods. For example, when the scared 16-year-old tells Baldwin that he's worried about his uncle being taken away from him, Baldwin is cool as November as November in Wisconsin. When he ensures the child, I think it's she. Isn't Baldwin a female? Oh well, I could be wrong. Baldwin is as cool as November in Wisconsin when he assures the child that no one is targeting his uncle as the perpetrator. Similarity, as Wiegert and Fassbender are leading the boy down the path towards life imprisonment, they clearly tell him that they are on his side and they even protecting him from other government agents. Given this, it is not unreasonable to wonder whether these detectives can really switch back and forth from lying-telling mode to truth-telling mode, or whether the truth has become so blurred for them. In other words, they seem to lie to Dassey so easily and so often that perhaps they actually believe what they are selling him. If that is the case, then the truth really is whatever interrogators want it to be. I believe that wholeheartedly. I believe that the truth is so muddled. I believe that the truth is so muddled at this point, and this investigator, for the state, I should say, that they don't know what the evidence has been destroyed and has been manipulated, and I honestly think that the only person that really knows what happened at this point to Teresa is Teresa herself and whoever killed her. And I think, unfortunately, that's probably the only whoever did kill her is probably the only way we would find out what actually happened to her is if that person comes forward. Because the evidence just is so destroyed from these investigators and the corruption that at this point I really don't think that there's anything solid left to show who did what. That's just my opinion. I don't know. Only people that really know that one are the investigators, Manitowoc, and the lawyers who have access to this stuff. I just hope that soon something gives, and not only that Brendan and Steven get released, but that something happens for Teresa and her family because she is the ultimate victim in this, and if when Brendan and Steven get out, I'm going to be really happy, but I'm also going to be sad for the family because that's really going to show the family like um, the real killer's out there, and you've had these two innocent men in prison, and your daughter's murder still needs to be solved. Like, it'll be a very happy day, but there's going to be a little bit of sadness, I think, because of the family. Like, I feel for them a lot, no matter how people want to look at them or whatever. I do, because at the end of the day, Teresa's mom and stepdad and brothers and sisters, they lost a family member. So, Chapter 14. It's better to give than to receive. Page 67. Uyghur and Fassbender had convinced themselves that they knew exactly what happened on Halloween in 2005. Their next step was to convince Dassey. If Dassey wasn't convinced, he may not be willing to agree to the version of events they were foisted upon him. Selling a suspect on an interrogator's specific ability to divide the truth isn't always an easy task. One of my former clients, when confronted by an interrogator who claimed to already know what happened, logically responded, "Great. If you already know, then you don't need to question me." That sounds like something I would say. If you already know about it, then tell me what it is, because I don't know what happened. That sounds like I would say that, I think. Much of the detective's charging with that particular interrogation ended before it could even get off the ground. But but fortunately for Wiegert and Fassbender, they were dealing with a much easier target, a learning disabled child who had no experience with the police and had no idea that lying is a detective's stock in trade. So at nearly every time they probed Dassey for the truth, or to be honest, they also told him that they already knew the answer they wanted. For example, in an interrogation at the Manitowoc Police Department, the interrogators rejected Brendan's attempts to deny involvement and told him 24 times that they already knew what he had done. The message was unmistakably, especially for a mentally limited 16-year-old. Brendan was clearly led to believe that he would not be punished for telling them the incriminating details they professed to already know. From a logical standpoint, however, there was a sticking point. Dassey didn't have access to the facts that his interrogators professed to already know. Therefore, Wiegert and Fassbender had to provide the details that would eventually make up the confession. They would have preferred it if Dassey could come up with the details themselves, so often they gave him opportunity to first guess what they wanted to hear. Eventually, though, they had to fill in the blanks for him and then get his agreement to the facts they just fed him. Now, in a now famous example of this tactic, Wiegert and Fassbender believed that Hallback had been shot in the head. It was therefore important that Dassey admit either to shooting her or seeing Avery shoot her. This way, his confession would be consistent with the state's theory, and in this particular instance, with the evidence, thus increasing the odds of a guilty verdict at trial. Their exchange went as follows. Wiegert, what else did he do to her? We know something else was done. Tell us. And what else did you do? Come on, something with the head, Brendan. Fassbender. We have the evidence, Brendan. We just need you to be honest with us. Brendan. That he cut off her hair. Fassbender. What else was done to her head? Brendan. That he punched her. Wiegert. What else? What else? Brendan. Cut her on her throat. Fassbender. That's extremely, extremely important that you tell us this for us to believe you. Wiegert. Come on, Brendan. What else? Fassbender. We know. We just need you to tell us. Brendan. That's all I can remember. Wiegert. All right. I'm just going to come out and ask you. Who shot her in the head? Brendan. He did. Fassbender. Then why didn't you tell us that? Brendan. Because I couldn't think of it. Although Dassey adapted to the interrogator's facts, this type of exchange isn't the best material for a prosecutor to work with at trial. The risk, from the state's perspective, is that the defense lawyer will argue that Dassey never really said that Hallback was shot in the head, rather that he was given multiple guesses and couldn't come up with the answer, which obviously means that he wasn't there when Hallback was killed. Then the defense lawyer might argue that it was the interrogators who fed Dassey the answers they wanted, that Hallback was shot in the head, and Dassey once again simply agreed with them. I don't understand how Brendan's defense lawyers after Len Kaczynski didn't do that for Brendan. Hey, Mary. I'm kind of get a little pissed off about that. I mean, nobody represented Brendan very well, did they? During his court stuff. Nobody really represented this guy. This child. It just aggravates me so much. I'm sorry. Where did I leave off? I got so angry. I simply agreed with him. The interrogators knew this was a risk, so they tried to at least make it look like they weren't giving Dassey the answers they wanted to hear. This required a little game of, we're not telling you what to say, but, for example, after much shaping and molding of the story, Wiegert and Fassbender got Dassey to say that when he got off the school bus, on Halloween 2005, he saw Avery and Hallback outside the Avery's porch, and he saw Hallback's car parked outside as well. This was certainly better for the state that Dassey's original statement that he saw Hallback driving away from the alleged scene of her murder. However, it still didn't fit the interrogator's timeline. They believed that by the time Dassey got off the school bus, Hallback was already inside, not outside, of Avery's trailer. And they also believed that her car was already inside, not outside, of Avery's garage. These were critical points, so they told Dassey that they wanted, but without telling him what they wanted. Fassbender was all but winking at Dassey when he delivered this monologue. Mark and I are having a problem with that. I'm not saying that. I'm going to put words in your mouth. So I'm going to have a problem with that. You know, Blaine not seeing Hallback and her car and stuff like that. Is there something you need to tell us about that? When you got home, what did you see before you went into her house? the time periods aren't adding up. And I know, I guarantee ya, Teresa's not standing on that porch when you come home from school. Yeah, I have a problem with that car sitting out in front at this time. Something is not adding up here, and you need to tell us the truth. I can't tell you these things. I can tell you we don't believe you. Brendan gets the message loud and clear that Fassbender is not telling him to say. Not is in parentheses. Fassbender just guaranteed that Hallback and her Jeep were not outside when Dassey arrives, so Dassey changes his story as requested. Brendan: I get off the bus, I walk down the road, and when I got to that thing, I can see her Jeep in the garage just sitting there, and I didn't see Steven and her on the porch. Uyghur: You did or you didn't? Brendan: I didn't. Fassbender: Did not? Okay. Fassbender essentially, if not literally, said this: Brendan, I can't tell you to say that they were inside the trailer, but I can't call you a liar for saying that they were outside the trailer. Similarity, you are still with me, Brendan. I can't tell you to say that the car was inside the garage, but I can call you a liar for saying it was parked outside the garage. Now tell us the truth. Of course, Brendan gives them exactly what they are demanding, and just like that, Avery and Hallbach went from being outside to being inside the trailer, and Hallbach's car went from being outside to being inside the garage. Now the facts are starting to fit the state's theory of the case, the truth. This fact-feeding was par for the course. All of Dassey's interrogations consisted of the detectives giving rather than receiving information. For example, Uyghur needed Dassey to say that Avery had taken the license plate off of Hallbach's vehicle. Dassey didn't see this, of course, so Uyghur simply told him, Uyghur, okay, after he put the car there, what did you do next? Brendan: We walked out. With, how's the license plates taken off the car? Who did that? Brendan: I don't know. Did you do that? Brendan: No. Did Steven do that? Brendan: Yeah. Uyghur: Well then, why did you say you didn't know? Did Steven take the license plates off the car? Brendan: Yeah. Similarity, Fassbender believed that Avery had gone under the hood of Hallbach's vehicle. An important fact for the state. It was easy to get Dassey to agree. Fassbender: Okay. What else did he do? He did something else. You need to tell us what he did. After the car is parked there, it's extremely important. But before you guys leave that car, Brendan, he left the gun in the car. There was no gun or weapon inside that car, by the way, guys. Fassbender: That's not what I'm thinking about. He did something to the car. He took the plates, and I believe he did something in the car. Brendan: I don't know. Okay. Did he go and look at the engine? Did he raise the hood at all or anything like that to do something to that car? Brendan: Yeah. And interrogators were using this tactic from the get-go. Traveling back in time to the Michigan High School interrogation, did Dassey really say that he saw body parts in the fire? Sort of, but only after repeatedly denying it, and then being fed the following details by Fassbender. Tell us what you saw. You saw some body parts. You're shaking your head. Tell us what you saw. You all right? You all right? Well, what other body parts did you see? Did you see any part of an arm? The leg? I know. It's all right. Did you see a part of her head? Skull? And this portion of the interrogation actually demonstrates a larger point. It's obvious from Fassbender's comments, you all right? You all right? That Dassey was getting overwhelmed by this gruesome line of questioning. For this and other reasons, interrogators shouldn't go too fast with the suspect. As the next chapter explains, instead of trying to go from 0 to full confession in 5 seconds flat, the better interrogation tactic is to move slowly but steadily towards the confession, one baby step at a time. All right. Last chapter for us today. Any questions so far? Yeah, it is disgusting how they treated him, Mary. It makes me sick of the manipulation and basically the mentally scarring they did to him, and then just to, like, turn their backs on him. That's the part that really gets me too. Alright, no questions, so I'm gonna continue. Last chapter, folks. Chapter 15. Well, not of this book, but of today. Chapter 15, Baby Steps, page 73. A good interrogator doesn't come barreling out of the gates by asking the suspect, "Did you do the crime?" That's too much too soon. One of the dangers of such direct approach is that the suspect could get scared sooner than the interrogator wants him to, and might refuse to cooperate. When O'Neill, Baldwin, Wiegert, and Fassbender made the mistake of being too aggressive too soon with Dassey, they got bailed out because they were working in pairs against the overmatched child who never mustered the courage to tell them to pound sand. The interrogator's sloppiness didn't hurt them. However, it is also true that when Dassey's interrogators asked too much too soon, they didn't get anywhere. Instead, their success came when they took baby steps, slowly and gradually, but steadily, leading Dassey to prison. To stick with the baseball theme that Wiegert and Fassbender loved to use, they had repeatedly promised to go to bat for Dassey. The interrogators enjoyed much more success when they went for single and occasionally double base hit instead of swinging for the fences. Wiegert was par- partially correct when he testified at trial. Well, obviously, when you keep learning little bits and pieces, Brendan kept telling us a little bit more here and a little more there. We realized it could be probably be either he saw more, knew more, or something. We need to make agreements to go back to talk to him again. That was obvious. Wiegert was accurate to say that the story developed a little bit at a time. However, it wasn't Brendan who was giving the information to his interrogators. Rather, the previous chapter demonstrated it was the interrogators who were giving the information. A little more here, a little more there to Brendan. As Dassey's lawyers argued, his statements were the result of repeatedly leading and suggestive questioning, the type of questioning that causes children and many adults to falsely confess. Further, Dassey's lawyers argued the state is flagrantly wrong to characterize the interrogation as a little litany of open-end questions. Rather, the interrogation consisted of dozens of leading questions, each advancing the story another step. It was this incriminate, incrementally incremental approach of leading Dassey down the primrose path, combined with the interrogator's scare tactics, pressuring promises and wordplay with truth and honesty that eventually formed Dassey's confession. And it all started with baby steps number one. The int hold on. Sorry, my dad wanted to tell me something. Where was I? It all started with baby step number 1. The interrogators first had to get Dassey to admit to something small, that he saw a body in the flames. And even this much took baby steps. Fassbender. Brendan, we know that Halloween and stuff you were with him and helped him tend to a fire. Anything that you saw that night that's been bothering you? What did you see in the fire? Brendan, some branches, a cabinet, some tires. Fassbender, you know, if you think you saw something in the fire, I gotta believe you did see something in the fire. Truthfully, I don't believe Stephen intended to kill her. What did you see in that fire? Brendan, some black, some garbage bags on there. Now it is time to move Dassey forward a step or two, which resulted in him seeing some clothing. Fassbender, I don't think Stephen intended to do it, but it happened. I'm afraid you saw something, and that's what we need to know. We get that off your chest, and you can move forward. Uyghur, I find it quite difficult to believe that if there was a body in that, Brendan, that you wouldn't have seen something. We know you saw something, and maybe you tried to block it out. Fassbender, it's okay. It's a big step towards feeling better about yourself, what you saw. Brendan, some clothes like a blue shirt, some pants. When Dassey said he saw clothing, it was a small step to get him to say there was blood on that clothing. Uyghur, was there blood on the clothes? Be honest, Brendan. We know. We already know. You know. Help us out. Was there any blood on the clothes? Brendan, a little bit. And once there's blood, there must have been body parts, right? It should be easy to take that step, providing Dassey is assured that he's not to blame. Fassbender, yeah, it's not your fault. You know we found some flesh on that tire too. You know you saw some flesh. Tell us, you saw some body parts. You're shaking your head. Tell us what you saw. Brendan, toes, forehead, a little flesh. Now the body parts just seem to be connected, which will create the entire body. The hip bone is connected to the leg bone, which is connected to the foot bone, and so on. Uyghur, were all body parts connected yet? Yes? Did you say yes or no? I'm not sure. Yeah. Fassbender. So all the body parts were pretty much connected. Then you saw the toes, which means you probably connected to the feet yet, correct? Which means the foot is connected to both legs. So I'm just going to ask this question. You're seeing a body. Is that accurate? You saw her body in there? Uyghur. Would you say yes or no for me, Brendan? Brendan, yes. Yeah, Jody's clothes. Jody's clothes were actually what Stephen was burning in the fire during the bonfire, whenever that night was. And also, the family has made multiple statements saying that in the past, before this supposed bonfire, they used to burn tires, but they stopped doing that a long time before this fire because the smoke from the tires would darken the houses next to like Steven's trailer, Barb's trailer. So they stopped burning tires in bonfires because of the black smoke. So if there was a fire, hey Auntie Side Eye. So if there was a fire on which I don't think it was on October 31st, but if there was a fire, they certainly didn't burn tires. So that's just another thing that Wiegert and Fassbender made Brendan say that he burned. I do think that there was a car seat and a cabinet and other stuff. I think they did do what he said when they got into the golf cart and drove around and picked up random junk to burn. But I don't think there was any tires in there or anything like that. But yeah, definitely it was Jody's clothes that were being burned, and I think it's because if you listen to Steven's phone calls, you'll hear him comment about her clothing all the time. Like, she wore pretty apparently risque clothing, and I think he was burning her slutty clothes. I mean, I hate to put it like that, but, um, because he constantly was telling her to go shopping with his mom and buy decent clothes that covered up her whole body, um, when she was in jail and when she was out of jail. And when he was in jail, that was a conversation they had often, was her clothing. "You're wearing too slutty clothes." So I think my theory is that he when she was in jail for the drinking and driving thing, he was burning some of that clothes that he didn't like of hers, and that's what Brendan saw. Alright, where was I? And just like that, Wiegert and Fassbender got Dassey strolling down the path to a full confession. But while seeing a body in the fire is a good start, it is not evidence of murder or even rape. Yet it was too big of a leap to jump from Dassey merely seeing the body to actually committing the crime. Therefore, the next baby step was to get Dassey to admit that he helped Avery put the body in the fire. They collected 7 pairs of TH panties and just asked Brendan what colors were in. Yeah, they did that too. And, like, how weird of a question. So, like, women have multiple different color underwear. So if you said, "Okay, what color was her underwear?" He could pick a random color and they could make it fit. You know what I'm saying? So, that's not it's not evident to me. Uyghur, Brendan, I'm gonna ask you a difficult question, okay? Did you help put that body in the fire? If you did, it's okay. Brendan denies the allegation. Fassbender, we pretty much know everything. That's why we're talking to you again today. In fact, if you did some things, which we believe some things may have happened that you didn't want to tell us about. Uyghur, let's be honest here, Brendan. If you helped him, it's okay, because he was telling you to do it. You didn't do it on your own. Brendan, I didn't touch her. Uyghur, why did he why did he have you come over? Did he need help with something? Remember, we already know, but we need to hear it from you. Why did you have to come over there? He needed help, didn't he? What did he need help with? Go ahead and tell us. Brendan, probably to get rid of the body. Yeah. Uyghur, yeah. After laboriously feeding and then extracting the details of how the body was disposed of, Wiegert and Fassbender continued to work backward in time. Dassey had admitted to seeing the body in the fire and then helping Avery put it in there. So the next step was to talk about how Halbach was killed. In theory, this was a relatively easy baby step to take. It only required Dassey to admit that Avery told him things, and not that Dassey did anything. But the interrogators believed there was rape involved too, thus making the extraction a bit more difficult. Fassbender, did he try to have sex with her or anything, and she said no? Wiegert, did he ever tell you that? It's very important, because we had heard that he may have told you that. No? Yes or no? Brendan, no. Wiegert, did he say anything about sexually assault with her or having sex with her? Brendan, no. Wiegert, did he say anything about wanting to? Brendan, no. Wiegert, what else did he do to her? We already know, be honest. What else did he do to her? Brendan, rape her. Uyghur, did he tell you that? Fassbender, tell us about that. And where did he do it? Uyghur, what did he say? Did he, in his words, what did he tell you? You can swear, you can use any of his language you want. Tell us exactly what he told you he did to her. Brendan, raped her. Fassbender, what did he say? Did he use those words? Uyghur, Are you sure? Because it's not usually the words he used. Are you if you're sure, that's okay. Brendan, yeah. The next baby step is to put Dassey in the scene of the rape and murder as a witness. If he agrees to be present for the crimes, then he's only one step away from admitting his direct involvement in the crimes. Wiegert, Brendan, were you there when this rape and murder happened? Brendan, no. Okay, let's to this point now. I think we're pretty close to the truth. Okay, then give us a little parts that we don't have yet up to that point. I think you know, I think you went over to his house and then he asked you to get his mail. Something in there is missing. Brendan, well, when I got to the mail, it's like an envelope in there with his name on it. I knocked on the door and he answered it. I gave it to him and I left. Come on now, you just heard screaming over there. Fassbender, you're making this hard on us and yourself. Uyghur, be honest, you went inside, didn't you? Fassbender, yeah. Uyghur, you went in the trailer. And then Brendan says, mm-hmm. Fassbender, you're nodding. Uyghur, okay. Did you go back there into Avery's bedroom and look? Could you see her? Brendan, yeah. From there, he was just a baby step or two away from a full-blown confession. They next got Dassey to say that Avery asked him to join in the sexual assault. Uyghur began, what happened next? Remember, we already know, but we need to hear it from you, okay? It's okay. Fassbender then jumps in the mix. Did he ask you? Then Uyghur says, he does, doesn't he? Fassbender reminds Dassey, we know. Uyghur continued the badgering. He asked you, didn't he? Come on, be honest. You went back in that room. You know, we know you were back there. Let's get it all out today, and this will be all over with. After Dassey to admit to participating in a sexual assault, the interrogators then got him to admit to participating in the actual murder. Wiegert prodded, you helped to tie her up, though, didn't you? Brendan, because he couldn't tie her up alone. There's no way. Did you help him tie her up? Go ahead, bud. They then went to the extract details about how she was tied up and stabbed, although the details never remained the same from one sentence to the next. The finishing touch, of course, is to get Dassey to admit that they shot Halbach. If Wiegert and Fassbender could accomplish this, it might turn the nonsensical story into a believable confession. At this point, the fourth interrogation in less than 48 hours, Dassey would likely have admitted to helping Avery with the Kennedy assassination, if that's the interrogators wanted. So to make it appear as though the information was coming from Dassey rather than being fed to Dassey, they asked him to open-end question. As discussed in Chapter 14, they asked, what was done to her head? However, after Dassey's 3 incorrect guesses, Wiegert's frustration produced the most famous question of the interrogation. All right, I'm just going to come out and ask you, who shot her in the head? At this point, Mark, does it really matter? And that's the end of Chapter 15. I just want to say I got a little nauseous when I read, did you help tie her up? Did you help tie her up? Go ahead, bud. Because that's a nickname that I say to my client a lot, bud. And now I feel kind of like, oh my God, they called him that. Hold on, 78. 24. I'm gonna have to look that up. But yeah, I was like, oh my God, you're not allowed to use that nickname. Anyway, so that's the end of today's reading. 100% back and they collected everything. Damn. Yeah. So does anybody have any questions so far of what I've been reading? Yeah, I use that with my client when I'm talking to him. My client's very childlike too. He's got the mental capacity of like an 8-year-old. So that's why I have those little nicknames for him and he enjoys them, but I kind of was just like, "Oh my God." That kind of just shows how they were trying to be friendly with him and trying to make him feel comfortable and appear more like their friend, like, "You can tell us." Oh, yeah. Anyway, so if nobody has any questions, I'll probably end this. But like I said in the beginning of the live, go check out the merch store. Um, all the profits go to Brendan. The link is in the description. If you guys want to join the Facebook group, I believe that's also in the description. We got tons of events coming up this month and next month due to the holiday season and all that. And we try to keep busy for Brendan's sake because of Brendan being in prison and all that. I do have something coming up in the next, hopefully in the next month for Steven. I'm excited about that I'm going to be helping somebody out do for Steven. The same thing that we do with Brendan, the postcard thing. So keep an eye out for that. And but yeah, and like I said, if anybody wants a postcard, they're 100% free. If you want to send one, or let me. Excuse me. It's almost my bedtime again because I gotta work tonight. But yeah, if you guys want a postcard, they're 100% free. If you're in the UK, please email UK postcards for Brendan at gmail.com. If you're in America or any place else in the world, it's Brendan Talks 89 at gmail.com, and we'll mail you your free postcards. And somebody asked me today, who do we mail when we get the postcards, who we send them to? And my best answer is whoever you want. If you want to send them to Governor Evers, send them to Governor Evers. We've been sending them to Mark Wiegert lately because he's retiring this year. If you want to send them to a representative, the senators, I've got those addresses too. If you want to send them to the Attorney General in Wisconsin, it's wherever you feel led to send them. And even if you get some postcards and let's say you want to just send them to your friends and family, I'm okay with that too, because it still gets the postcards out there with free Brendan Dassey's name on it. You know what I mean? So yeah. Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Maggie. Thank you, Auntie Side-Eye, for being here. And lay down, get some rest before work tonight, and then but yeah, I should be available. Now they're they're gonna be doing construction on my roof here at the house, so I don't know what's gonna happen in the next couple of weeks. So we're having a consultation done Wednesday. So yeah, Auntie. We're having a consultation done this Wednesday, so that shouldn't interfere with my Wednesday morning catch up. But as far as it depending on when they do the roof, it might interfere with some lives in the future. Hopefully not too badly. I am gonna be staying in a hotel while they do the roof, because I have to sleep during the day, and there's no way I can sleep with the pounding on the roof all day. So, but I'm also probably gonna be in a hotel with my mom and 2 dogs, and if it's too overwhelming for me, then I probably won't go live. So, but I'll let you guys know as soon as I get a more understanding of what the schedule is gonna look like for me with that. So, and I'll let you guys know if I can go live on the 9th. If we're gonna, I mean, I can go live after work, but I think Sunday also Foul Play goes live. So I might just pick a different, I don't know. I'll talk with Alice and Linda and see what works for everybody else, but I'll let you guys know as soon as I know. But anyway, I hope everyone has a good night and everyone stays positive, and let's keep doing positive things for Brendan and keeping his story and Stephen's story alive out there.